How's everybody doing out there? I know we're doing good.
Good.
Like to welcome you to What Up Sports Nation, folks. And we got a special guest for you. We got a special guest. If you don't know Ashley Carter, folks, you should. From Grambling State University all the way up to LeadHership Athletics. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Now, we got a lot of good things in between there, too. I just wanted to start with Grambling because that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you've been able to coach with Matt Lyle, Heather Tarr. Oh, my God. Two great softball personalities, plus run your own programs.
Yeah.
What would you say are the three key things that you have learned from those two individuals?
I would say in both cases, communication matters. I would also say it is a lot about who you know. And I would say remember to be yourself.
Wow. That is powerful.
Yeah.
You're laughing like, yeah, I got to remember who I am. Who am I again? That Alzheimer's is kicking in for me, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Now, how would you translate that message to the gals that you speak with?
Yeah, it's honestly a message that I am teaching just worldwide anyway of my business. But so the first one I said was communication. So I believe that the experiences that we have in life and how we thrive or not thrive in those environments has a lot to do with us and our ability to communicate our needs, our motivators, and our stressors. So I would say in both cases, knowing both of those people, I kind of had some similar situations where had I spoken up or discussed my motivators and stressors, that I probably would have had even better moments with those people and then those spaces. So that'd be one. The second thing I said is it is really who you know. So I would say in both scenarios, in fact, the actual priming question for my first coaching, college coaching professional career happened with Matt Lyle when I lived in New Mexico and he lived in California, and he had just gotten a job at Menlo College. And the literal question in our Facebook conversation was, well, who do you know that I know? And me, like, I don't know anybody that you know. But turns out I actually did. So I would say that's really important too. And I would say the same with Heather Tarr at the University of Washington, the guy who also, they're now hitting coach, Kyle Novak. I actually knew him from working at a batting cage with him. And when he was applying for the position, he asked me to help him with like softball recruiting stuff. And so when she knew that I knew him and she was hiring two positions, it was a great fit because I knew him and we had a similar philosophy around hitting. So that was helpful for me. And then I would say knowing yourself is the third one, simply because I have to recognize my own. If you see my shirt, it basically says my own uniqueness, my value, and to know that I'm enough. Because sometimes when you get into certain spaces, especially being a new person, oftentimes you will rate other people's like where they currently are to your beginning, and it kind of like messes you up a little bit. You're starting to assume and think that, well, I'm not where they are, so you start to lose a little bit of who you are and what you actually bring to the table. So I would say even in both of those spaces, again, my first college coaching experience, even though I had already been coaching for about 12 years, when you get into the college world, you're like, okay, well, I don't really know all it is about college, but I know about softball. So I have to use my own experiences in that case. And then I think when you play the Power Five, same thing, right? I have been coaching college softball for 6 years, and I get into that space, and sometimes you kind of lose yourself thinking, oh, I don't fit that, or I don't know that. So just remembering who you are, I think, is also really important.
Can I jump in, because you mentioned something about who you know,
Mhm.
and Matt Lyle, which we've interviewed, is amazing. His show come up too, before this one. But the thing that you brought up is that who do you know that I know? So in the softball world, there's a community. You guys know each other all through softball. As people go into that you're working with and teach, like even in your own business, how do you promote that to say, this is what you really need to do, is get out into your communities of where you want to be? Or am I just stating it right now?
No, you're not. You're not. And I think, again, this is probably a theme of the show today, but I think, again, recognizing some of your own experiences and strengths as potentials for getting into these spaces. So what I mean by that is, even if you start like at travel ball or high school or wherever, just being able to get out and like be a part of those spaces where people are, and like, oh, like, hey, let me run base running, let me run the hitting station, let me run the mental training station. It's just a way to like use your own strengths to be a part of that community and at least expose yourself to other people. So I think that's really important in this entire process. And then again, just communicating and knowing that you might have to start maybe at a volunteer space and just kind of reaching out. We, like college coaches, we always need help. We've always needed help. And, a lot of people shy away from it because it's like, okay, well, I got to volunteer, I got a full-time job, got to figure that part out. But honestly, like, just put yourself out there. If you can go 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, I guarantee you that there are some coaches out there that could really use your help. So I think a matter of that as well. And then again, coming in with your own strengths and using those to your advantage to kind of infiltrate that space. I'm sure if they can't use it the next year, they'll be willing to give you a recommendation for somebody else.
Nice.
That was big, actually. Believe it or
Mic
not,
drop.
thank you. Yeah, that was great information. I hope everybody really hears that. Because not just in softball.
Yeah, just in
I mean,
real
that's
life.
such a great life lesson
Life
for
lesson.
everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. Now that we've had this mic drop moment, let's just get this out there. I mean, where can they find you? How can they find you? How can they book you? I mean, we want to put it down below.
Yes. So if you go to my website, www.leadhershipathletic.com/contact, you will be able to find me there. You can also find me on social media, Coach_Ashley or Coach_A Carter is also how you can find me as well.
Yeah. You being a coach outside of just softball, how much have you taken that same advice of reaching out and working with the community of coaches?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think there is 100% a niche and a need for it, probably more than ever now. But I believe that some people are so strong-willed in their like already habits and routines. Once they get older, it's a little bit harder to challenge them or adjust them in some ways unless they're willing, right? And so some spaces in the coaching realm is a little bit harder to get into. But I think also that as our athletes are growing, they are what you say, coachable in a lot of ways. It's kind of the opportunity to me, teach them how to lead their own journey. So my business, LeadHership Athletics, is not necessarily about becoming leaders to other people, but it is teaching her how to lead her own ship. That means understanding her own communication styles, her own needs, values, wants, her own strengths, right? Branding herself, and adjusting her mindset or changing the perception of her mindset, getting over some of the barriers that could exist from the sport that really come down to conditioned beliefs that probably happened even before the sport happened for them by their influences and their experiences. So yeah, I would say that's probably more of my realm right now. But yeah, I have one college program where they did also book me because they have young coaches to work with their coaches as well.
Nice.
I actually go ahead.
No, you go.
It's something I've been playing with because something happened this past week that really made me think about this on the life and coach side. I was at a game and the lights went out in the middle of the game and the team was losing. That was the home team. and the lights came on, and it was just like the Super Bowl with the Niners and Ravens. The home team that was behind by 2 touchdowns came back and won it 16-14. And I really started thinking about momentum,
Yes.
positive and negative, because that happened. There was a negative for one team and another. Do you ever get into some of the momentum for not only in sports, but also for her and your leadership process, how to notice that, how to carry that on, or if you notice it's going the wrong direction, how to turn it around?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, first of all, momentum is huge. And I might not have used those words in my business specifically, but I can tell you at the University of Washington, that's a really big deal. We always say, get the mo. And we're speaking specifically about momentum and, knowing that though the one who has the momentum basically is the one who wins, who finds a way to kind of get through those moments of hard times to win. So I would say, yes, really important. So with my athletes, I probably would spend, I think for them, they have already barriers and limiting beliefs. So breaking through those limiting beliefs first is really important. But as we are creating the momentum to break through those, we're also providing them with reset plans that helps them in the moments where a trigger comes up or something changes, an umpire calls a bad call, we make an error, the lights go out, as you said. How do we maintain our mindset or at least get ourselves back to what we call neutral to be able to move forward? So yeah, definitely.
Thank you. That was another really big point. So I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. No, we're having such a great conversation.
Yeah, I love it. This is great. I want to bring up something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and I'm pretty sure it's still near and dear to your heart, recruiting. Do we instill in these young ball players that we are watching them at all given times that we possibly can?
Yeah, okay, good question. All right, so how do we instill in them that we are always watching them? I mean, in one part, it's a simple answer, but like you said, telling them to their blue in the place. But I think telling them, but okay, let me think about this question actually. Now that
It's a tough one, and I've been trying to come up with an answer myself, and that's why I wanted to bounce it off you. That too, yes.
Well, so I don't know. Sometimes I get super philosophical or deep in these questions. So like I'm just thinking about, I go into this thing of like, what is their, do they know what their real like why is? Like, why are they out there? And it could be multiple things, right? It could be parents, it could be recruiting, it could be so many things. So I think knowing the drive behind the why could answer that question, and then I think the educational piece is if they truly do want to play the next level, then it is kind of letting them know that you know, I have these conversations with these people and this is what they're saying, and maybe like make it not come from you, but come from the fact that like I've had conversations with coaches who really love your skill, but some of the things that you are doing when you're not playing or whatever, when your body language make a mistake, it's not reflecting you in the most positive way.
Kind of reverts back to the have to want to.
Yeah. 100%.
Definitely. Thank you for, dotting that exclamation point for me, because that was actually a really good aspect that I hadn't even really thought about. So the have to want to in regards to that.
Yeah.
All right. Now
let's carry the recruiting a little more.
Okay, let's go.
Just because we're on that right now. and because you've definitely been into that. What we're seeing and hearing a lot is a lot of coaches, there's so much about huddle and highlight films and all that stuff. I'm hearing stuff like character, parents, like you kind of mentioned a little bit. What are some of your biggest hot topics? But the real question I want is, where is a kid that you had on the radar that fell off the radar that came back on because they did something that made them come back on the radar?
Ooh, okay.
Because it kind of goes to the points of where you can see the highlight and I want that person, but then something wasn't right, which you just talked about, and then come back into, but they overcame that. I know it's a big one, but it's an interesting thought.
We're going deep with Coach Carter today.
Right.
folks.
I'm
Going
like,
deep, you can
man,
handle it. That's the best part.
I can. I want to give you a real example. So I'm just trying to think about a scenario about grades. That's always one. That's kind of an easy, I guess, scapegoat answer. But I've recruited athletes at every level. Community college, NAIA, D2, D1, and I would say, when you're looking at an athlete on, at a tournament or a camp, or they come to your camp, and they really show out and show you what they have. And then we kind of look at their grades and we're like, oh, okay, like really, like we can recruit you here, but the cost for you to be here is not really beneficial enough for you. Having that conversation and then seeing how they can make those adjustments. That's kind of I want to give you a different one, but that's one. Let's see. I think I can give you another one. Hitting. I would say hitting's my thing. And honestly, at most camps that I ever worked, I always wanted to throw front toss. And I always wanted to throw front toss. And this is kind of a quick kind of train around. But for someone who, I saw them as, all right, they have a really great attitude. They're really great on defense. Everybody's good on defense these days. But, hitters will play most times. So really good on defense. Excuse me. And, at the camp, I saw them on defense, like, okay, I got to see them hit. And then you see them swing, you're like, okay, that we got some work to do there. But being able to give them a few tips and seeing how they adjust to the swing based on what I've told them, it does kind of give you a different spark. Like, okay, if they're able to make this adjustment, there's potential for them to be able to make other adjustments. And I think that speaks to the physical aspect. I think that speaks to the mindset aspect. And I think that speaks to like heart and desire and want to aspect as well.
I love it. Yeah. I
right.
love to see how they apply, because that also lets you know if they're coachable.
Exactly.
No,
Wow,
I
that's
love
good.
it.
Great
That
answer.
is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Another tough one. How do you make the uncomfortable comfortable?
I don't. I work on the athletes controlling the things that they can control. So when you're in uncomfortable situations, sometimes you're in uncomfortable situations because you've like created this like vision or image, or your society has created this vision or image, or your parents have created this image or vision of something that you are chasing, but you yourself have not created that vision. So we talk first about creating the vision of what like maybe success looks like or a goal looks like. And then we break down the processes to get to those goals, which are all things that we say are measurable, hopefully attainable at some point, maybe a little challenging, but we can start to control those processes a little bit more with like intricate details of how to get to them. So in those cases, I think that's how we help our athletes control the controllables. For instance, another thing that people say, like you said, get uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Usually we're talking about maybe weather, or we're talking about umpires or playing time, right? Or recruiting, like coaches getting to know us or see us. And the reality is we can never like control those things. And so the anxiety and stress comes when we try to, versus trying to adjust to the things that we can and control the things that we can control in those moments. So whether, okay, maybe we dress a little warmer if it's cold, or we dress a little lighter if it's not, right? Have maybe more water, or vice versa, or maybe we have a little hot tea or coffee, don't tell coach, and your hydro, if it's a playing time thing, we need to actually have the communication and the conversation with our coaches about those types of things. And then realistically know what are the steps I need to take to get there. So we ask the question, but we don't really ask the steps to get there sometimes, so coach will say, well, you got to get better with your arm, or you got to get better on your hitting. It's like, okay, like, cool, but how, and then I would say, yeah, just in all of those things, I think that's more of the face that we want to get to. So our mindset is something that we can also control. So even like umpire calls. So umpire calls, we're working on what is our routine. There's this athlete at the University of Washington who was playing in her last PGF game this summer, and she had an at bat, and I recorded it and I showed it to all my players. I think the at bat was like 8 minutes long. And I mean, she like fouled the ball off, got a bad second pitch, she got a bad call by the umpire, and she kind of gave you like this little frustrating moment. And then she did her reset plan again and she did her rid back to her routine. So I think she, all in all, had about 17 swings or 17 pitches in that at bat, and she ended up walking. So for me, like what you were able to control was the mindset that allows you to reset, refocus, try again.
I love it. And not only that, but being able to control your emotions after the second pitch to take it out to 17 plus pitches.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a huge thing, in my opinion, that I would coach, is being able to control your emotions.
Yeah, it's true. It's a big thing. A lot of our athletes struggle with it, like you said. And I think that kind of goes back to your other question about just the body language and stuff like that. Like, it's the same thing. So
the other thing I really loved in what you said, because you said a lot in there.
Oh, God,
there was a whole lot in that answer, which is amazing. Yes. So we're trying to kind of pinpoint and highlight a couple things. But you talked about them creating a vision, not what your vision is. I mean, they have to fulfill things that you need as a coach. Yeah. But one of the most important things that I think you said, which was huge, was what is their vision and how do they want to get to that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to highlight that because it was such a big statement and a lot of what you said, which is gold. So
yeah,
man, big time.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I have so many more questions.
We only have so much time.
I know. I'm like, I think we may have to, maybe a little further down the road, have you on again.
Let's do it again.
All right.
Yeah. So we'll kind of summarize it, but what's next for you? Yes. What is the next thing for you?
Yeah, I'm living in my purpose right now. I basically consult with college programs, travel ball organizations, high school teams, to develop the complete athlete. I call it the 360 athlete, where we're coming in. And I know, like I said, the coaches love to say, like, I want to develop this athlete to be a whole person. So when they leave here, they leave better than when they got here. Yet in these same moments, at the same time, we have practice 2 days a week. We go hit 2 days a week. We do all these things physical that don't actually equate to the other side of the person and the mindset. So I say, like, hey, coaches, you do you, focus on the things that you love to do and that you can do, physical and craft and body. And I'll come in and I'll work with your athletes on the mindset and the person.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Incredible interview.
Yes, absolutely.
No, really, it's been a pleasure to meet you. I know Chris knows you.
Oh man.
But you have a lot to give, and I just keep doing what you're doing because
thank you.
You're making the world better.
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely is correct. Thank you so much, Ashley. It's always great talking to you, seeing you. Big old hug for you.
Let's go.
Hey, folks, from all of us here at What Up Sports Nation, you guys have a great day and a better tomorrow. What up?
What up?